All right, people are starting to roll in, and I'm just going to talk to myself for a minute while people are arriving. Welcome. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'm Dr. Laura Mock. I had a busy day. I'll tell you guys about that while I'm waiting for everybody to get here. This morning, I delivered implant supported denture. It's usually my day off. But the oral surgeon was like, can you please do it today? And I was like, fine. Apparently the patient was super combative, like while he was being sedated or during the sedation. So everything was like way behind, but I did get that sucker screwed in place just like 2 hours late. But yeah, it's been an exciting day. Hopefully all of you have had exciting days as well. I am just going to give you like 2 more minutes to roll in because our numbers are still going up. Thanks to everybody for coming. I'm so glad you're here. This is How to Love Your Practice by Changing Only One Simple Thing, which I hold this webinar 2, 3, 4 times a year. And I'm just glad you're here. If you're here, you probably own a practice. You might be a woman. You're my people. And I'm excited to share this life-changing information with you today. Still going up in numbers, so I'm just gonna wait a couple more minutes. Let's practice starting the chat while we're waiting here. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see 2 little chat bubbles, and it says Q&A right there. And I want to hear from each of you. This is an interactive webinar. So what I want you to do is click on the Q&A and then say hi to me and tell me what your name is and where you're from. Okay. Oh, there. Brandy says hi. So excited to be here. Brandy, I think you're from Idaho. I just already know that. Yeah, there it is, from Idaho. Yeah, I love it when I'm right. Haven't heard from anybody else yet. I know you guys are here, so I'm just going to stare at the camera until somebody else answers. There we go. Hi, Bryn. Bryn's from Iowa. Love Iowa. That's where I live too. Literally, actually just harvested my own corn 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe. It's popcorn, so it takes a little bit. That's right, Brandy. Yeah, often confused with Idaho, but we grow the popcorn, so you have to wait later in the season, and we have a garden, so yeah, cook them some popcorn. All right, we've got Deneen here saying, I'm a marketing consultant. Okay, I'm glad you're here too. Come on in. Oh, and you are in North Carolina, but you're originally from New York City. Nice, 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 nice. Okay. All right, it's 7:03. I'm going to start talking at 7:04. If you're new, I see there's a few more people coming in here. I'm asking you to get onto the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen because I'm going to be asking you questions today. And I just want you to tell me your name and where you're from. Expecting based on the number of people who are here, there's several of you I haven't heard from yet. So hop on there. I'm going to practice using the Q&A box because I'm going to be asking you questions during this webinar today. How to love your practice by changing only one thing. All right, we've got Karen from Mississippi. Oh, I remember Karen. Karen's got a great Instagram page, Dr. Karen Luckett, just in case you're wanting to follow somebody with a really good dental Instagram page. You can copy her, right, Karen? And Laura, one of the several Dr. Lauras that I know from Pittsboro, North Carolina. All right. Welcome, welcome. I'm glad all of you are here. There are a few people who haven't told me your name and where you're from, but that's all good. Let me see if I can squeeze this box and make it a little smaller. No, I can't. I'm going to minimize it. So, okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Laura Mock. Welcome to my presentation, this webinar, How to Love Your Practice by Changing Only One Simple Thing. By the time this hour is over, so we'll be done 8:05, 8:10, something like that, you will understand the basics of how you can, without even changing anything about how you're running your practice, you can change how you feel about it. And ladies, I know owning a practice is stressful because I own a dental practice. I am a former dental assistant. I'm a practicing dentist who owns a practice, and I'm also a certified life coach. So I'm going to tell you the story of how I became a life coach, and it basically starts with the fact that I hated my practice. I hated going to work. I would literally drive up to my parking lot and just kind of sit there and sort of do some deep breathing and force myself to go into the work. But before I really explain to you how this change happened, I just want to give you a little bit of a preview here. I'm going to talk until 8:05. Then I'm going to answer questions. And then for those who are still with me at the end, I have a gift that's worth over $1,000. It's a coaching gift, and I will give it away to one person who is still here in the webinar. You must be a woman. You must own a dental practice in order to win. Okay. All right. I'm going to pull up my notes here. Actually, first, I'm going to see if anybody else answered me because I like hearing from you ladies. No. Okay. If you're new, because I did have a couple more people trickle in, I want to hear your name and also where you are from. We're practicing using the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Okay. Now I'm going to go to my notes and take a drink of water. Okay. This won't be new information for any of you. In a month of owning a dental practice, we women have a lot of feelings. There's elation, there's overwhelm, there's stress, there's confusion, there's shame. Believe it or not, many of you report feeling shame. I want to hear from each of you, what is the worst feeling that you have felt about your practice this month? And while I'm waiting for people to answer, I'm going to think about it for me. I'm going to have to say loneliness. Because, you know, when you're at the top and you got all these ladies, they have each other, they've got their work wives or whatever. But when you're at the top, you have to deal with some shit by yourself. And that's hard. All right, I'm going to open up the Q&A box. What have you felt that's been really hard this month? Okay, I've got overwhelm, fear, stress, confusion. Yep. It's hard to know what to do sometimes. Haha, too many irons in the fire. Yep. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I agree with all of those. So we have all these feelings that we go through in any typical month of owning a dental practice, right? And the thing is that it's stressful and hard to feel all that stuff. And what I want to know from you right now is, do you want to feel love for your practice? And I just want to hear some yeses shouting out in the Q&A box. Yes, I'm seeing some yeses on there. Yes, I want to love my practice. Absolutely. Duh, yes. It's hard, isn't it? And it's hard to know how to get there. And I'm going to explain to you today why it's hard. All right. Yes, yes, yes. Exclamation point. Back to my notes. Okay. So like I said, I'm a former dental assistant. I'm a dentist. I'm a practice owner, and I'm a life coach and speaker for dentists. And I have to laugh because since I was a dental assistant first, I had expectations of what it was like to be a dentist. Basically, I was kind of seeing what dentists were doing when they put on a show to show the patients that everything is fine. So I had no idea. I kind of pictured them like when they were done in the operatory, they walked out and their part of the job was done. And, I thought that getting through school would be the hard part. And then after that, everything would be easy peasy. I kind of pictured like I was a mom already. And I thought, well, maybe I'll have a dental chair like in my den of our house. And if the kids are taking a nap, I'll just fix a tooth or whatever. I just really didn't have a realistic idea of just how hard it is. I thought, well, that looks easy and I'll be in charge of my own schedule. It would be awesome. And I graduated from dental school and then almost immediately bought a practice. And I was really in for a big surprise, right? Because this was a lot harder than I expected. And I believed in my ability to succeed. I had gone through dental school, but I didn't know how to do it. This was all new information. And I was thinking to myself, it feels like everybody just like wants a piece of me, like I'm getting pulled in all these different directions and I'm tired and I have so many loans and financial obligations. And by 2013, I had built a very successful practice. It was busy. I had patients coming out of my ears. It was profitable. And I had all of this demand, but I was still in my first leadership style, which I named basically, you try not to make anybody mad at me. So, those things in front of the car lots that are like blowing around with the air. It's basically like that. Like, oh, you want me to pull this number 15 that's root canal? Sure, fine. Oh, you want me to stay until 8 p.m.? Okay, I'll do that. Oh, you want to take the next 2 weeks off? All right. And you want your free cleaning instead of your perio cleaning, right? And I just said yes to everybody because I thought if nobody was mad at me, that meant I was doing a good job leading the practice. So I hired some consultants to help me lead better. And they did teach me how to lead better. And my profits went up and the organization kind of cinched down. But here's the problem. My old thought habits of things like, this is hard, I don't know how to do this, everybody wants a piece of me, I'm tired. Those thought habits didn't go away because they were already etched in my brain like train tracks, if that makes sense. So even though my leadership got better and my practice was making more, my thoughts stayed the same. And I really started to hate going to work. Sunday night blues, you guys know what I'm talking about with that? Start thinking about what's happening Monday morning, sitting in my car, trying to make myself go in, dreading the complaining from the team and the patients, not having time to talk to my patients anymore, and just rushing around, just doing single tooth dentistry, not having time to go pee, and just having a lot of good things happen during the day. But then there was that one bad thing that would happen, and that would be what my brain and I would take home. And I was ashamed of feeling like I didn't enjoy my practice. Like if you looked at it from the outside, it looked amazing, but I felt selfish for not enjoying it. And what happened is you can kind of look at the history of my numbers. And during that year, when I was really getting into what I call my scarcity slump, the numbers went down. And what happened next was kind of lucky, is that I discovered the concept of life coaching. It wasn't within dentistry, it was in a podcast actually. And I got my own coach, and what I discovered is that I was the queen of my life. We're actually all queens, and our throne sits waiting for us to sit down and take our power. And these are some of the things that I learned. I learned that my brain can think about the things that I choose, but many thoughts pop up just automatically, and they tend to be negative because I have a human brain. But what I learned is that my thoughts are within my control to change should I choose to take my power, sit on my throne. But my emotions come from the thoughts, whether they're automatic or whether I choose them. If I'm feeling stressed, what I learned is that the reason I'm stressed is because of what I'm thinking, not what's happening around me. And so as I integrated this knowledge into my life and my practice, what I figured out was a huge light bulb moment for me, which is that my main problem with my practice was how I was thinking about it. I was still thinking, this is hard. I'm tired. I can't trust anyone. Why don't my patients take my advice? And the classic, I always thought this one, I still do. Sometimes I have to watch my brain. It's not enough. I'm losing money. And these thoughts created stress and fear and overwhelm and scarcity. And so, of course, I didn't like going to work. And since I didn't like going to work, it was obvious in how I was acting. And that's what was making my numbers go down. And the scarcity slump was doing its thing. But then when I started taking control of my own brain, when I used the coaching principles to guide my brain into thoughts that were going to work better for me, that's when everything changed. Let me give you an example. So I mentioned this. I have this thought habit. It's not enough. And I have that. I came by that habit very naturally because I came from a very low income family. And my mom was always trying to like scrape together enough money for food and housing. And I saw her believe that it's not enough. Okay. So even I have this big, huge, successful practice, but I was still thinking in my mind, it's not enough. And that emotion, that thought, created an emotion in me, which was fear. Okay. So as I learned in coaching, the way I feel directs how I act. And when I felt fearful, I was micromanaging the schedule, which made the employees feel bad. I was doing really stupid stuff, like telling my husband that he owed me money, worrying about the bank account, checking it obsessively, looking at the schedule just to see, what holes there were. I don't know if any of this sounds familiar to you guys, but when I feel afraid for my practice, I start acting like this, and then I'm not leading the way I want to lead, and I'm not creating the practice that I want to work in. But when I started actively managing the story in my head about my practice, I chose to think to myself, hey, this practice is mine. I made it, and we're getting better and better, and I'm going to create the practice that I want to work in. And that created a feeling of excitement for me. And when I was excited, then my actions followed, and I became a better leader in every sense. And I literally started loving going to work again. But I had to practice this change, but it was only within myself to make those changes. And now I teach other women to do this. And during this webinar, I'm going to teach you the step-by-step processes for being aware of what you're feeling and thinking, and choosing something new to think and feel so that you can love your practice. Okay. So I want you guys to make sure you have a piece of paper, and I'm just gonna check and see if I've had any questions yet. Oh, okay, good job. Going back to what I'm saying here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to tell you basically everything you need to know to do this on your own, to figure out what you're thinking and create something new. Step one is that we have to understand the difference between facts and thoughts. Facts are immovable. They're math, they're science. They're something that everyone in the world would agree with if you said the sentence. Thoughts are, we're bringing in data, and we use a sentence in our mind to interpret what's happening. So for example, I can see the little camera in front of my eyes here, and my brain says, oh boy, there's a bunch of people listening to me live right now. Okay, or here's another one. A fact would be, I own a dental practice. Okay, and a thought would be, owning a dental practice is really hard. Or here's another one. My patient did not come to their appointment, versus my patients should show up to their appointments. So one is cold, hard, and movable. The other one You could look at it in different ways. Facts are removable. Everybody in the world would agree with the fact, like my dental practice collected X number of dollars last month versus my old thought habit, it's not enough. And thoughts are optional. So this is where our power starts to come in, ladies. Our thoughts are automatic. They pop up and our brain has a tendency to create negative thoughts. But if we take control of our brain, because we're humans, so we actually can choose new thoughts if we want to, that's when we really can create a power where we're choosing something new to think. Our brain, our human brains have been carefully calibrated by millions of years of evolution, be trained on seeing the hard stuff, the bad stuff, way more than the good stuff. And that's just because evolution favored humans who worried more, because they saw the dangers, they survived, they reproduced. And therefore humans became a worrying species. The more worried humans were, the more successful at surviving and reproducing. So the worry is deep in our DNA. But if we know that our emotions always come from our thoughts, and if we understand that our thoughts tend to be negative, but we also understand that we can actually choose new thoughts, we can create a new experience. For example, when I think it's not enough, I don't become a good business leader. But when I redirect my mind and say, this is my practice and I'm creating it to be a practice that I love, then I'm feeling something different and I'm acting differently. So in order for you to love your practice, the first thing that you have to be aware of is that we have many, many thoughts about our practice, and that thoughts are put there automatically in our brain. But as we become aware of how we are thinking, we can evaluate if we are thinking about the practice in a way that helps us love what we do. All right. So we're going to practice this. So make sure you have your piece of paper ready. In just a minute, I'm going to go over these steps. What we're going to do is we're going to work on our awareness. Anytime we have an emotion, it's a physical vibration that moves through our body. And an emotion is it's a biological cue that tells us how we are supposed to behave. So the first thing that we want to do is be aware of the emotion that we're feeling, especially if it's a negative emotion. If it's overwhelm or stress or fear, we're going to name it. We're going to say, I am feeling overwhelmed. It feels like I just want to stand here and not move. I can't move right or left because I don't know what's better. Like, how does it feel in your body? You want to describe it. And then you want to kind of dig through your mind and figure out what thought created that feeling. And there's an exercise you can do. It's called a thought download, where you just sit and you write out everything your brain is thinking right now. And then when you're done writing it down, you look at the thought download again and you figure out which thought created the emotion that you're feeling. Then you're going to look at that thought and you're going to look at it real closely and separate the thought from the cold, hard facts and name the fact that it came from. And ask yourself if you thought if that thought is something that you would be willing to let go of. Like, once you figured out the fact from the thought, look at that thought that's making you feel the way you don't want to feel and ask yourself if it's something that you could let go of. So I'm going to give you an example now. I've given you these steps and I'm going to tell you a little story. So last year, I bought an expensive piece of equipment and it came with like a side benefit, another smaller piece of equipment. And they said, here's your expensive thing. And the other thing is coming. It'll come in the mail automatically. And 2 months went by and 3 months went by. And at first I didn't really need the other thing, but then I really actually did need the thing. And I realized that it never came. And I got really mad and I basically lost my shit on my equipment rep. And I I actually felt violated. So my emotion was violated. Actually, I'm going to start writing this out so you guys can see. I have, and you can get ready to work on this on your own. On your piece of paper, you're going to write fact, thought, emotion, and actions. I'm just going to pull up the camera and make sure you guys can see this. Yes. Okay, good. Okay. So what I was feeling was violated. I'm going to put that there in the emotion section. Okay. And the violated feeling felt like this really tense, icky, restless feeling right here. Like I'm describing the physical vibration, right? It was kind of like this, right? And then I did a thought download and I figured out what my thought was. And it was, I can't trust my sales rep. And I'm just gonna write can't trust. Go faster. I can't trust my sales rep. And this is the hard part. And it helps to have a coach. Like, what is the fact? And I have to say it in the most neutral way I possibly can. And for me, the best way I could put it was item has not yet arrived. Item not arrived. Okay. And if I extrapolated this out some more, I could say how I acted when I felt violated. Basically, I didn't act like a good leader because I was mean to my my sales rep, and it certainly didn't help me get my item either. Okay. So what you do once you find the thought that's creating your feeling, and you ask yourself if you can let it go, then what you want to do is you want to think about how you would rather feel. Okay, so in this situation, I don't think that I would put happy-go-lucky, right? I might put strong. Okay, so I'm just going to erase this for a sec, and I'm going to write that I would like to feel strong, like I'm standing up for myself. And I know that if I hold on to this thought that I can't trust my equipment sales rep, I'm not going to be feeling strong, right? This is the part where I get a chance to retrain my brain. So then I might decide to think to myself, well, if I want to feel strong, I know my rights in this situation. That's what I did. Know my rights. I know what the contract said, and I'm just going to talk to my person and find out why they haven't upheld their end of the bargain. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to think of a time this month when you were feeling something that you wish that you didn't have to feel. Okay, so sometime in this last month, I asked you earlier, some people said stress, some people said overwhelm. And what I want you to do, I'll just erase this here. So I want you to choose an emotion that you felt and write it in your emotion line. So I'm just going to write overwhelmed because that's a really common one. And if you want to share what you wrote in your line, you can put it in the Q&A box. And while I'm waiting for people to do that, I'll give you the instructions for the next thing, which is, what is the thought that created your emotion? Okay. And I'm just going to tell you some things that female dental practice owners say to themselves. So there might be, I don't know what to do. I have too many options. I'm so tired. This is hard. I didn't realize this would be so hard. These are the type of thoughts that our brain is going to think in order to stop us from taking action. Our brain actually thinks this is a helpful emotion, like it would help keep us safe, because maybe we'll stay in the cave. We won't go out and search for nuts and berries if we're scared, so we'll stay in the cave. Okay. So you're going to write down your thought. I'll just put, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But the fact is, it's just a cold, hard fact, right? It's just, I own a dental practice. And that's not good or bad. sorry about my messy handwriting. Owning a dental practice is amazing and terrible at the same time. But you can look at the deed or the contract where you signed it. You can look at the loan materials. You can say, yes, I own this dental practice. And there are a million different ways that you can look at this dental practice. And if you want to feel something different than overwhelm, then all you do is name how you'd rather feel. So let's say love, okay? Let's say you want to love your practice. Your thought is what's going to create that love. And I know it sounds wonky, but stick with me for a little bit because I'm going to explain this some more. But what is something that makes you feel love for your practice? Like, this is my baby. I worked so hard for this. This is amazing. Not everybody can own a dental practice. This is way easier than being a doctor because they have to work for other people now. I'm just pulling things out of the air here. I'm so lucky. Lots of things too that we could think that would create that love. And then once we feel the love, then we start acting like we love our practice. And that's when we sit on our throne. That's when we put our crown on and we lead like the women that we want to be. Okay. So that's how that works. This is the whole process. And if you go home and you start doing this on your own, you will change your own life. The only thing is that knowledge and understanding this versus practice is very different. And trying to do it on your own is possible, but difficult. And there's a couple of reasons why. One is follow through. Another is it takes practice before you understand the difference between the fact and the thought. And we have a tendency to hold on really tight to our story and call our thoughts facts. And when our facts are muddled up with things that aren't neutral, then it feels like you don't have any choices. It makes it a lot harder to sit on your throne. So this is where coaching comes in. In order to bring yourself to the level of awareness that gets the change, we want to, it's very helpful, to have a brain guide. And that is my role. After seeing the amazing effects of these tools in my own life and my practice, I learned how to teach this to others. And I took the tools that I learned, I became a certified coach, and then I created a program just for dentists with our unique set of challenges. Now my methods have taught so many women to take ownership for their feelings and what they're creating in their lives. And we meet weekly in a small group, a mastermind setting. We train our brains, which takes time and repetition, but it increases our awareness, and literally we learn how to love our practices. One participant said, Dr. Laura has helped me feel better when I beat myself up due to imperfections in dentistry. She's helped me connect with my dental partner and to see my limiting beliefs and how they hold me back. She has changed my way of seeing and creating value for my patients in a new way, which has led to offering more treatment and therefore increasing productivity. Let me tell you a story of a coaching client. So this is someone that I had met with 9 or 10 times, and she had a habit in her brain of telling herself that she wasn't that great at clinical dentistry. And her thought habit was, my team and my patients, everybody in the town knows that I'm really not that great. And of course, that's a thought. It goes in the thought line, right? And that thought created a feeling of shame for her. And the shame felt terrible. It feels awful to feel shame, right? And it prevented her from enjoying her career and her amazing skills. So during coaching sessions, we looked at that thought. I'm not really that great. Several times, and we separated the thought from the fact. The fact was that she owned a dental practice. And then you could also include in here that she had 4 or 5 extra skills. So own a dental practice, I do ortho, I place implants, I treat sleep, I do molar endo. Those are still neutral facts. You could put them up there. And we looked at how she could talk to herself about her clinical skills instead of repeating that she wasn't that great. And she chose to look at her extra skills and her practice with a kinder, more accurate tone. And her new thought was something like, I have been trained to do these things, and I always do what is best for my patients. And when she practiced that thought and became aware of when she was slipping into the old thought, because she was recognizing when she started feeling shame, she knew that she was slipping into the old thought, and she's redirected herself. And she just told me a few weeks ago, thank you so much for helping me love going to work again. I literally look forward to going and helping people instead of dreading it and carrying all that shame. I took on a big case recently that normally I would have told myself I couldn't do, even though I'm actually trained very well to do it. And the patient loves the results, and I had fun doing it. So what I want to do now, take a little break and drink some water, is I want to talk about how this principle can help you. I want you to know that I can help you, whether you're stressed, you feel like you can't hire the people you want, you feel stretched thin with your time, or feel frustrated about your clinical outcomes or the finances of your business, wherever you are. What I want to hear from you right now during this Q&A, I want you to use the Q&A, is what is stopping you from loving your practice right now? Okay, so I'm going to look at this Q&A and I'm going to stare at this camera until you guys tell me what is stopping you from loving your practice right now. I'm just reading the old answer as well. Let's see, what would I have said 2 years ago? What is stopping myself from loving my fear? I would have said fear because I'm still afraid that this practice might fail. Oh, that's a lovely answer. Someone says, I actually really love mine. It's handling all the other jobs I have to add to it. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of other things. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, what do you mean handling other jobs? And this is when we would go, let's separate the thought from the facts. Okay. And we would, I can't coach you live on here, but what are you responsible for? And what does it mean to be handling the jobs, right? We're putting it in a negative context because that is what our brains do, if that makes sense. I love being a practice owner, but I hate managing my dental team. Yeah, you and every other dentist. I think that's the hardest part about, and that's a thought. You can put that down. Being the leader, being the employer is definitely difficult. I work too much. Oh, yeah. Someone says I had to let an assistant go today. She just wasn't getting it. Yes. Letting people go sucks so much, doesn't it? I don't love doing that. All right. Thank you for sharing all that, ladies. Okay, back to what I'm going here. So if you will implement the tools that I showed you and, maybe join the mastermind with us, I know that we can take you to a place where you literally love going to work. It doesn't happen overnight, and it takes effort from me and you to get there. Sort of like a perio patient, I'm like, I got my job, you got yours. But I have the tools, and you've got this amazing human brain that just needs a little bit of direction, and you've got a dental practice. And as we make the changes, I want to describe what you will see happen in your life. You will be able to move from worry to love. You will enjoy your clinical days more. You will take more time off. You will be able to sleep better and actually enjoy your time off. You will be more empowered to tell your employees what you actually want and lead them with more confidence, and you will literally become more profitable. It's just natural that follows because, when we're acting like we love our practice, we're doing that. We're leading, we're suggesting treatment, we're helping our employees be happy, and then everybody's happy and the patients are like, this is amazing. All right. So I want you to, I'm switching gears just a little bit. You know, sometimes we owners of practices, we buy expensive things for our businesses. As a group, dentists spend massive amounts of money, and it's on equipment, CE, business consulting. And I want you to see for a minute why we are doing that. It's because we're trying to feel better about our practices. It's a symptom of our worry. You see, when we have an urge to buy something, and this is global, not just about dental practices, but just humans in general, when we have an urge to buy something, it's because of how we think we will feel when we own the thing. So think back to the last big purchase that you made for your practice. I'm thinking about when I signed up for the $55,000 coaching that I signed up for. Think about what you wanted, what you were picturing yourself feeling after you owned the thing. So it was a scanner or some, learn how to place implants or what was it that you were trying to feel? I wanted to feel, when I bought that expensive coaching package, I wanted to feel in control. I felt like things were black, and they were, I was that wind sock in front of the car dealership. So a lot of times, if we are trying to reach a collection amount or that skill level or have that fancy piece of equipment, we're trying to feel pride, or we're trying to feel like safe from the finances or maybe confident. But what I'm telling you is, based on what I just taught you tonight, spending money on all of that stuff only magnifies our problem. No amount of CE, SOP lists from consultants or fancy scanners will help you to feel what you want to feel, because emotions don't come from things or purchases. They come from what our brain is doing. I'm not saying that these things that we spend money on are bad or good. I have spent so much money on my practice, and some of the things that I bought were great and some of them were terrible. What I'm saying is that owning a thing or paying for the CE doesn't change your brain. Coaching changes your brain. Awareness changes your brain. What I am offering with my program is the one thing that can change how you feel, and you don't even have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on all the rest of that stuff. This is what coaching does. It doesn't even cost $150,000 like a CEREC, or $70,000 for coaching programs. So I talked earlier about how knowing the steps is not nearly as effective as practicing the steps, especially with a coach who knows not only the human brain, but also the brain of a female dental practice owner. We're like a special breed, let me tell you. And I have this mastermind group of women who own their practices and are working to get back to the peace, the love, and the excitement. And each week we dive deep into how to create more intentional feelings for all aspects of our lives. And the group meets weekly. There are so many advantages to doing it in this group format. I used to do all sorts of one-on-one coaching, and I switched to group, and I'm going to tell you why. When you're in a group of other ladies who are supporting each other, you learn more about yourself. You learn how to implement the coaching in a more independent way, because I'm not just holding your hand. You support each other and you make new friends, and your understanding of the concepts deepens when you watch somebody else learning. So when I coach somebody and everybody else is watching, the people who are watching are actually learning more about that awareness than the person who is getting the coaching. And also it costs way less than one-on-one coaching. So right now I have 2 groups in my mastermind, and I have a little bit more space for new mastermind participants. Both groups meet on Fridays, one at 11:30 Central and one at 2:30 Central, but new participants meet weekly for a little bit at 1 on Fridays, because I have to get you orientation and the basics, the instruction, and then later in December, the newbies will join the more seasoned participants. Now, you could sign up for one-on-one coaching with me, but it's more expensive. It's like $4,000 for 10 sessions. And also I'm full. I just had one last person sign up for one-on-one coaching, and I just can't take any more. But the mastermind is $499 a month with a 6-month commitment and auto renewal after that, but you can quit anytime you want. So it's much lower financial investment. And if you pre-invest for an entire year, which about half of my ladies have done, then it's $416 a month because you get $1,000 off. And this would be the best money that you ever spent on yourself. It will cost you the equivalent of 2 direct restorations a month, and the dividends will be exponentially more valuable. And more importantly, besides the dividends, you can get back to love, and also your practice will be run better and you'll sell more dentistry. That's just a natural consequence of changing how you think and feel. And you can be the owner that you want to be. And I want you to know that I am so confident that this coaching is effective that I have a money back guarantee. I've actually never had anybody ask for it back, but if you're showing up and you feel that coaching is really not helping, you can come back to me and ask for a full refund. All I ask is that you come to the meetings and try it. Because of this guarantee that I'm implementing, you literally have no risk for signing up. Now stick with me for a minute. We are almost done. I want to coach speak to you what your brain might be telling you about maybe joining the mastermind, okay? Because human brains are predictable. So they don't like change very much. They like things to stay exactly the same as they are right now. Stay in the cave because there might be a lion outside, okay? So our brains do that. They prevent us from changing by giving us reasons why maybe we shouldn't do it. So for example, some of you might be thinking that you're too busy to do it right now. Maybe you see patients on Fridays. Maybe you have kids that you do things with on Fridays, or there's so many things, right? We are women who own dental practices. We have a lot of responsibilities. Well, potential clients of mine have felt that before, where they're like, I don't know if I have time. What they found is that life coaching creates time abundance. We're actually studying time, our relationship with time right now. And it's been so fun to see the participants. We use Marco Polo. Do you guys know what that is? It's like asynchronous video texting. And they'll be like, hey, guess what I'm doing today? I took a day to plan and dream. Have you ever thought to yourself, well, let me introduce this concept to you. Is it possible that the thought, I can't make time for this, is a thought and not a fact? And what would it be like if you used the mastermind coaching to take more control of your time and have more of your time to yourself? That is something that we can do. Our profession is by appointment only, and we own our practices. So if this coaching is something that you want, or there's a vacation that you want, or a skill that you want to learn, you can make the time to do it. You just have to be aware that your brain might tell you that you're too busy. Finally, I don't expect everyone to make it to every single meeting. We never have a completely full meeting. We have lives and responsibilities, and we record the sessions for you to download if you miss a meeting. And we do that in a very confidential way, by the way. All right, let's take another hit at what your brain might be telling you about maybe not joining the mastermind. So some people tell themselves that coaching will not work for them. And for that, I have a testimonial to read to you. I have used so many consultants in the past trying to improve my practice, but the most constant issue was me dealing with my team and me being able to actually implement what they recommended. I would constantly have highs and lows on a roller coaster of emotions about my practice. I would go from feeling happy and motivated to feeling like crap and like everything's falling apart. And once I started Laura's techniques, I have been so much happier at work and at home. And now I'm able to reduce the number of rock bottom moments. I realize that my brain is always super hard on myself, always blaming myself for everything. But you know what? Once I'm able to put my thoughts and feelings in perspective and say, these thoughts aren't going to help me get where I want to be, I'm able to move forward. In a nutshell, ladies, if you think coaching is not going to work for you, I would say that it only doesn't work if you don't put in the work. So if you're not willing to try, then I would agree with you. But otherwise, you've got a human brain just like the rest of us. And what we're doing in the mastermind with the group as support, it's so effective. Come to the meetings, do the little bit of homework, and I know that it'll work. Finally, okay, third concern, maybe your brain might be saying, I shouldn't spend the money. I can't afford it. There's too many monthly bills. And to that, I would just say, you can't afford not to do it. That one time that I bought an expensive coaching package, it was $55,000 and it was worth it. It paid for itself in a few months. But this program is so much lower of an investment, and it gets at the root of our behavior as practitioners. So you will see returns as soon as you implement the changes. Those monetary benefits will bring you dividends for the rest of your career. Like there's this module that we do about our treatment planning. And once we look at some of the beliefs that we have about how we should treatment plan, everybody starts treatment planning more ideal treatment, and not everybody accepts the ideal treatment, but the more treatment we suggest, the fuller our schedules become. All right, and then besides that, there's the non-return on investment value. So the non-money part, like how much would you spend if all of a sudden you knew that you wouldn't hate the hard parts anymore, that you could get through it? How much would you actually pay if you knew that you could move from worrying and stressing to loving? All right, we're almost done. So this program, this mastermind program, is already partially full, and I have fewer than 10 spots open. I'm trying to keep our groups small enough so they can maximize each woman's transformation and keep you guys knowing each other, if that makes sense. Registration closes October 14th, so you have a few weeks. There's a couple things that come with the mastermind. We have a private WhatsApp group. We have the Marco Polo texting that I mentioned. My clients, any of the mastermind groups, can shoot me a question on Marco Polo and I just answer you kind of as I go. So if you have something pop up between sessions, you're welcome to that. And I also have a collection of weight loss videos that, because I got a certification for weight loss coaching too. So I just put those up on a spot. And if you're in the mastermind, you have access to those as well. Okay, so 2 things remain. I'm going to ask you guys in a minute what questions you have. And then after I answer questions, I'll answer questions for 5 to 10 minutes. And then I will take stock of who is here. And I'll have to put your names into my little wheel of names website. And then I'll draw to see who will get half off of their first 6 months of coaching. Okay, so if you have questions for me, put them in the Q&A box. And I will just open up that box. Okay. I am super busy. What happens if I miss class? Well, we record all of our classes. And first of all, I would say, I feel you on the super busy. Let's work on it. Let's get you so that you're spending your time doing what you want to do. And let's get you to the place where you're more in control of your time. And yes, if you miss class, you can rewatch it anytime. Usually I put them in a Google Drive, and so you could listen to them in your car on your way to work or on a walk or something like that. Sometimes there's assignments, so you might want to grab a piece of paper while you're listening to it, so don't do that while you're driving. My hygienists fight with the front desk every day. How do I fix that? Okay, so this is something, this is a leadership issue, right? And I can't use coaching to send a forceful beam to make the hygienist get along with the front desk team, right? But what we can do is we can look at how you are showing up in your leadership, and we can look at what kind of boundaries and expectations you want to give to your front desk versus your hygienist. And we want to look at how you are feeling about your leadership, right? So we would put this into the model here. And the thought would be they fight with each other every day. And that might create a feeling of frustration, right? And if you're frustrated, then your actions are going to be things like, oh, sigh, or hide from the whole thing at your desk and maybe check some Instagram or some Facebook. What else would I do? Complain to one of my girlfriends about how my team is always fighting with each other. And so then I'm still not showing up. I'm not doing anything to make it better, right? So then I would want to look at how I want to feel in order to actually lead and to say to the hygienist in the front desk, hey, I'm not putting up with this anymore. We're going to have to come up with solutions, or people are going to need to find new jobs or something. You know, I'm playing with it as we go here. But what I mean sincerely is that we use coaching to help you show up as the leader that you want to be. Can you give a few examples of what kinds of topics your mastermind course covers? Okay, yes, that's great. We talk about, first we learn how to use the model. We talk about how we see ourselves as dentists. And I always do that one early on because, ladies, there's a lot of shame, and we kind of unpack that. How to schedule our time, how our relationship with our team. We do a lot on leadership. You know what, I have time here. Let me just pull up my curriculum. Treatment planning mindset, how to make money in any business, leadership, overwhelm in leadership, loving your practice, understanding my employees, using the model, beliefs about money, relationships, our relationship with our practices, the power of beliefs about time. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Can I quit anytime? Yes, you can. For new women, I ask for a 6-month commitment. And that's because that's about how long it takes to really get going in it, to really figure out that this coaching is something that can help you. Okay. And then after that, you can quit anytime. It just automatically charges you, and you could call me or Marco Polo me or whatever and be like, hey, I'm dropping out of the mastermind. And I'll say, okay, no problem. We'll miss you. Love you. Is there homework? Yes and no. The homework is not that difficult, but there is a certain amount of work that you want to do for yourself in order to get to the part where your awareness is up and you're using the model, you're using the coaching to make your life better. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take 1 or 2 more questions, and then I'm going to do the drawing. So if you are still here, I want you to just write here in the Q&A box. That way I can put your names in the wheel of names. Will you say more about the treatment planning mindset? Yes, I will. Okay, so this is how I used to think about whether I should make a suggestion for a treatment. Okay. Mrs. Jones has a really gnarly old alloy with a cracked molar and the tooth behind it, but she had 2 crowns last year, so I should either only recommend one or just say it's stable and not say anything, because maybe she won't like that I tell her, or maybe she'll go to some other dentist who will tell her that there's nothing wrong. Or maybe the insurance won't pay for it. And then it's like, ooh, the insurance, and then I just keep my mouth shut and I say everything's fine. But when I started thinking about it from a different perspective, it helped me actually open my mouth and tell the patients more. So that would look like this. I promise myself that I will tell the patients everything they need to know, and then they can choose for themselves. And that creates a feeling of confidence instead of shame. And then I'm suggesting more treatment to more patients. And then all of a sudden, all of that income is just rolling in because you're giving more value to your patients, and you paid for your whole year of coaching a long time ago. See my point? All right. I've got 2 people that say here, but there's more people who are actively on here. So otherwise, this is going to be super duper quick. Is there anyone else who wants to say that they are here? I'm going to put your guys' names in. And I'm going to look and see if there's any more questions. Just got those 2. Okay. This is the wheel of names. Click to spin. I'm going to spin it. All right, Bryn, you won. Congratulations. I want you to reach out to me. Do not register through the portal because it will charge you full price. So reach out to me and you'll get half price coaching for 6 months. That is so exciting. I'm really excited for you. Okay. Just checking to see if there's, oh, Bryn says, yay, yay, yay. That's awesome. All right. Any other questions? Doesn't look like it. Oh, and thank you. You're welcome, Bryn. I'm excited for you. I've been wanting to kind of pull you in and mentor you a little bit. So this is exciting. Okay. Thank you so much to those who stuck with me. And this will be available to rewatch if you want to. I'll be posting that tomorrow. And I just appreciate you, ladies. Thank you. See you soon.